Dubai moving away from the desert. Desert has never been far from Dubai's doorstep. Now a modern financial hub of some 3 million people, the United Arab Emirates, UAE, most populous city remains surrounded on one side by sea, on the other by a seemingly endless carpet of sand. Over the last 50 years, the city has become a somewhat improbable success story, transforming from a sleepy fishing port to a shining urban metropolis. But despite its opulence, the city faces a major challenge: encroaching deserts, which threaten the Emirates' remaining fertile land. The UAE is around the same size as Portugal, but some 80% of its land area is already desert. Its ecosystem is fragile and, partly due to desertification, much of its most valuable land is coming under increased strain. A government report published in 2019 stated that with an increase in population and food consumption systems, land degradation and desertification are becoming rampant. Finding effective solutions has become a priority for the country. The goal is not to conquer the desert, but to restore areas of land that are no longer productive. Desertification is a type of land degradation whereby fertile, farmable land in arid or semi-arid regions becomes unproductive. It typically occurs when natural resources such as water and soil are overburdened, which makes the land less able to support vegetation. While it can happen naturally, desertification is increasingly prevalent both in the UAE and globally due to human activities such as overgrazing, intensive farming and infrastructure development. Desertification occurs when land and vegetation, usually at the borders of deserts, is overstressed, says William H. Schlesinger, a biogeochemist and president emeritus of the Carey Institute of Ecosystem Studies in New York. He has studied deserts for more than 30 years. The result is a lower productivity of vegetation and often a transition to vegetation types that are less useful to human activities. Approximately 12 million hectares, 46,000 sq miles, are lost around the world each year as a direct consequence of drought and desertification. That's the equivalent of 2,000 American football fields every hour. To put that into context, if those fields were lined up end to end, you would have to drive at 130 miles per hour, 210 kilometers per hour, just to keep pace with desertification spread. The UAE's development over the past 40 years has required an environmentally unfriendly approach to the Earth's resources, says Don Chatty, a professor of anthropology at the University of Oxford. To undo that is going to require serious financial effort as well as social transformation. Partly as a result of this negative press, the UAE, and Dubai in particular, which was a primary culprit, pledged to do things better. In 2012, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Prime Minister of the UAE and ruler of Dubai, announced the UAE Green Growth Strategy to maintain a sustainable environment to support long-term economic growth and build the country's green economy. Decision makers in the UAE are also concerned with how they will maintain their current wealth when oil resources run dry or become less valuable, says Gaki Gunnell, professor of anthropology at Rice University in Texas and author of Spaceship in the Desert, a book about energy, climate change, and urban design in Abu Dhabi. There has definitely been a push to attract tech startups to the region since the early 2000s as part of Dubai's transition to a knowledge-based economy, she says. In this context, investments in renewable energy and clean technology, or more broadly in sustainability, also serve as means for economic diversification. There are already a host of initiatives centered around Dubai. The Dubai Industrial Strategy 2030 outlines the city's plan to promote environmentally friendly and energy-efficient manufacturing. While the 1 gigawatt, 1 billion watt, Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Solar Park, located 30 miles, 50 kilometers south of Dubai, is among the world's largest solar parks. But Dubai's environmental issues are far from solved, especially in the case of desertification. Drought, overuse of natural resources, swift urban development, and increased soil salinity are all risks for the city. Failure to adequately address them threatens everything from the permanent loss of arable land to the demise of species native to the region. Credit, Joseph Phelan Research, Victor Hugo Lizard Leonard.